Hey guys, welcome back to the question and answer period of Wrong End of the Snake. We got Janine with us still. She's graciously decided to stay with us for a few more minutes, and we sure do appreciate it. And we, in between the episode and now, we were talking about an experience that I had where I was speaking to someone, a girl in this industry that had a horrible experience. One of her first experiences was, someone basically telling her that you won't make it in this industry. And I get the feeling that no one ever has done that to you, right? But have you had an experience where someone, has said to you, this isn't going to, you're not going to make it here, and you've persevered?
I don't recall anyone ever saying that to me. I know that the first production manager that I worked for in Charlotte, North Carolina, Bob Morrell, I just knew he was a hard ass anyway. And I knew that it was going to be a rough summer because he would normally had 2 males. And I knew that when he was barking at me and swearing at me every other word, it wasn't me that he was necessarily swearing at. It was just that he swears, and that was his way of being endearing. And the funny thing is that I have all these letters from when I moved that he is like, I miss you so much and you were the best and all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay.
Like, you were the one telling me that I sucked.
Yeah,
I know.
Sure didn't seem like it.
Yeah. But I think that these relationships are very important in the business, because I think that it's who you know, and one of the greatest advices that I got was, don't be afraid to ask someone to help you, because people like helping other people. They just do. And if you're a good person, and you only want to be working with good people anyway. And I think that, like, I consider myself, and I think a lot of us that started back then we're all very loyal. We're all very vendor loyal. We're all very mentor loyal. And we I think when we get introduced to certain people, that's who's going to stand behind you. And that's when you want to move forward with someone, you want somebody behind you that kind of stamps you. Like, I know right now, he's a mentor, but also he treats me like an equal, and I think of us as equal, is Marty Holm. And Marty Holm and I, when we are in a room together, he could not be my biggest publicist and PR rep. And anybody that comes in the room, he's like, have you met Janine? She's going to take over for me. She's the best. And that's the kind of person that you want. And then immediately people that regard him are going to regard me, and they don't even fucking know me, like, it's just because he's put a stamp on me that kind of says she's good.
That's definitely the right stamp you want. If anybody's listening, that's the stamp you want.
Stamp you want.
Just in case anybody doesn't recognize that name, if he's stamping you, you're pretty.
Yeah, I was just going to say, especially for Marty Holm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I always tell people, guys that are in this industry, I'll be teaching a class and we'll be talking about sound. And I always say, you know what, like 20% of this is about sound. Like, the rest of it is the fact that, I feel like I can walk into a room full of crazy people and identify what their needs are. That is a skill that is, bigger than being the best mixer in the world, I think.
Yeah. I think it's attention to detail. And I think for me, I had one client that I'm really good friends with now. Like, I watch their dogs and we have game nights, and they, and it was funny. We had a discussion because this is somebody that I've really become friends with, and you get to hear that other side of the artist brain. And they were like, yeah, we weren't really sure about you in the beginning. Like, you were always really quiet, and you were always really like listening to us and observing us, and like, and I didn't immediately, like, if they were like, we want to do this, I didn't cut them off. I like listened to what they had to say, and then kind of tried to give some sort of feedback into what we were doing. And they were like, because you weren't like, in our face and like trying to be like, you know, all like I'm the baddest or, you know, whatever, and hype yourself up, like because you were like kind of stood back, we weren't sure like what was going on. And I was like, but that's not my personality. You know, if you don't really know me, I'm going to be pretty shy, and I'm also going to be, you know, I'm an observer. I'm trying to see what your needs are, and I'm trying to hear what you're saying. I think a good lesson I would learn when I worked for Madonna doesn't take no. No is not an acceptable answer. It's I'm going to try or you know, whatever. It's the pivot to the yes or whatever. So
now, you saying that, I think it's a great answer, because I always felt that, you know, mixing monitors, you got to listen to what the artist is saying more than talk to them and try to convince them some other way, or just listen to them and figure it out from there. And it's funny, you just said kind of the same thing in your job. You got to listen to them. You know, they don't want to sit there and listen to your bull for 20 minutes trying to convince them of some other thing or something else. Just listen to them, take what they say, and try to fix it if you can, or do the best you can.
Plus, they live in a world that nobody else says no to them. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's true.
You know, Justin Bieber lives in a world. He doesn't live in my world. If he wants a coffee from Starbucks, he turns to the 13 people that work for him and say, I would like a coffee from Starbucks. And someone is hopping in their car and driving to Starbucks. That's his reality. That's what I try to tell people is like, the people that we work for don't live in the same planet that we do. So you need to put yourself in that same headspace, right? Do you find yourself doing that, like trying to project yourself into what Madonna's headspace is?
Well, I'll use, I'm working with Yoshiki right now, Tater. And we talk every day, and the conversations are very much, you know, listening to what he has to say and then kind of trying to really listen, because I think that as humans, we don't listen as well. We're just trying to think of the next thing to say. So like
listen and hear. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's about really listening and trying to anticipate. Like I'm really good about seeing like patterns and seeing like what people like or reading people. I like to like observe. I'm a good observer, and I can pick up key little points. And then you just know if you know what is a soothing thing for that artist, then you're gonna have that soothing thing around. Or, you know, it's about making them feel comfortable in the space and providing the things that might seem really silly, like a Starbucks. But when he goes to order a Starbucks, you know, 5 are going to return, not just 1.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah.
And can I just give a pro tip out there about Starbucks?
Yeah. This is great. I love it. Go ahead.
If you don't drink Starbucks and the production is going to get everybody Starbucks, order a $5 gift card.
I love it.
Every time, you know, someone would come around and order, you know, coffee for everybody, he'd be like, well, I don't drink Starbucks, and a coffee's $5, so get me a coffee gift card.
I love that. That's a good one.
I love it.
And then you just hand them back out.
To the people that you drink.
Thanks.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's also managing their expectations, right? I think that from my perspective, as I'll give you a great example. So working for Linkin Park, you know, they asked us to do some things that were on the cutting edge and you know, things that maybe no one had done before. You know, we were kind of the first people to do a release of the live show like hour after the show kind of a thing. So that's an example of that. And managing the expectations of that are difficult when you're talking to people that are multimillionaires, let's say, because in our world, in my world, money usually stops stuff, right? Yeah. Like if someone says to me, oh, that's going to cost $20,000, I go, oh, okay, we're not doing that. Yeah. Well, yeah. When I walk up to Linkin Park and go, it's going to cost you, you know, $100,000, they go, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
throw money at it, make it go away.
Yeah. I think that brings up a really good point. Is I would say personally, I love money. I have a really good relationship with money. And I think it's super important to foster that. I think in your personal life, and that's why I can deal with the accounting stuff really well. And like it's not about money. It's like, it's just numbers. And the great thing about money and math is it doesn't lie.
Very true.
And I think that having a really good relationship is going to create even more abundance for yourself personally and stuff like that. I'm a really big advocate for having a good relationship with money. And I think that people just shy away from it. They find it uncomfortable. But the only way that you are going to have a good relationship with money is if you're open to fostering that relationship and getting really, really specific about goals and needs and creating abundance and all that stuff. So I'm a big advocate for that, all of that stuff.
So your big time budget, this is how we're going to get through the tour. This is going to make you X amount of dollars, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's, ultimately that's what artists, I think, want to see, right? They're on the road because they want to make money. And so, when they see someone like yourself that is caring about what their bottom line is, I think that's an important thing to attribute to have as a tour manager.
Yeah. Sure. They're my recent client, she was like, I want to make the best show possible. And that meant spending a lot of money. And she goes, I just want to be able to feed my dog free dog food and pay my mortgage. And so we spent a lot of money to make that show happen,
Okay, cool.
But
that's refreshing because most artists aren't that.
It's so different. It's but I think that I would say that I've been drawn to the artists that I work well with. So like I don't really I like to plan ahead. I like to do the travel. I like to do the routing and stuff like that. And I think that some artists like that are pop stars and can get a private jet at the top, the drop of the dime and leave. That seems very chaotic to me, and I really don't work that as well. I can do it. It's just not my favorite to be like, calling at 2 a.m. and saying we need a private jet to New York. Well, then that means we have to cancel all these other things and all these other things you put in place and all this, and I can do it, but it's just not my favorite way to. And I think the clients that have been drawn to me are the ones that I do have that freedom. Like my last client, same person, she doesn't care. She has no idea where she's going. She doesn't care the routing. Just take care of me.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Well, that's a true testament to you because you do that and, take care of her.
Yeah.
Tater, you got anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to ask my last question that I always ask.
Ask away.
So if you could turn back time and speak to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to your 18-year-old self? What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
I guess I would say to not take anything personally.
Good one.
I think that also everything is conspiring to help you succeed. Because I really was like, I used to be super worried, like I said before, like, where am I going to get another tour? I'm never going to get another tour. I'm not, I'm not going to, like, I used to be, I guess I was just probably maybe more negative about the whole thing and just more anxiety filled. And with age, I think it comes that you sort of settle in and you ground in. And I would say though, it doesn't necessarily always get easier as you get older,
That's true.
You think it should. You would think, I've been doing this 29 years, it'll get easier. It doesn't get easier.
No.
And
the mechanics of it don't, but the thought process behind it does. You know what I mean? You build a reputation and you realize that, okay, maybe I guess I am kind of good at what I do and people are cool with that. And, there comes a time period where you kind of accept that, I think, as you get older.
Yeah.
I know for me, I never worried about
COVID?
And I guess I'm extremely lucky. I never worried about like when this tour ends, worried about the next one. I find if I worried, the next one never came, and if I didn't worry, I had it before it was even time to think about it. So
Yeah.
I never let that worry me. But
well, that's good because I mean, I like Janine, I was super high anxiety. Like if I were, and it took a toll on my personal life because every time that I was home, all I was thinking about was like, I gotta get another tour.
Yeah, that means you weren't being present.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So wow, I wish how come you didn't give me that advice 18 years ago, Tater? Come on.
Yeah. Tater, why were you?
I gave it to Paul White. I gave it to just Paul White only.
So Paul White. Has he taken it to heart?
No.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
it's hard. It's easy to say. It's hard to do. It's one of those things. Like you say, like you were just talking about, like don't beat yourself up too much. But when you care about your work and you want to do a great job, and you beat yourself up on those little details because you're trying to get. To me, you're trying to get better, and you care about what you do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of female friends, tour managers, whatever, and we often think I think we overbeat ourselves up about things, and we always go, and we'll use somebody's name and we'll be like, blah blah blah, I bet you didn't even think about that. They don't even think twice about that. I think that's female male brain, I think, a little bit, where we're really beating ourselves up about being perfect and trying to do the right thing, whereas guys are more like it kind of rolls off their back faster. It's just an assumption, I guess.
No. I mean, I find that women in general, the reason that I love women in this industry is in general, I've noticed that you are way more detail oriented and are focused on the little things that matter. And I think that's an advantage, but it's also a curse too, right? Like I'm that guy where I beat myself up all the time and it makes me be good, but it also, I spend a great deal of time beating myself up,
Yes.
So, all right. Well, listen, thanks again for coming. We sure do appreciate it. And please stay in touch. And hopefully when we work in 2023, we'll be working.
It keeps moving. The marker.
Every week that I'm talking to somebody, I'm always like, yeah, we'll see you in, I don't know.
All of us will be retired. We'll be out there.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm going to be like, if this goes on too long, I'm too old.
Well, Tater had like a 5-year plan, and now it's like, oh, dude, that's turned into a 7-year.
That got blown out with Chester.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
anyway, never getting out.
Marty and I have made several jokes. We kind of vacillate between where we're going to just put a huge ad in Billboard where we're like cheap roadies for sale and we're gonna really reduce our rate and it's gonna be really stupid, or then the other one is he's like, I'm too old for this shit. He goes, I'm not going back to spring training, I'm not doing this. He goes, I'm just gonna be done. And then he was like, but there's gonna be so much demand. He goes, I'm gonna mark up my price so high everybody's gonna have to pay.
Yep.
So we kind of go back and forth between discounted rates and really extended rates.
Well, I hope you get the overs.
I hope you get the over for sure. It's something that Tater and I talk about all the time. It's a worry. It's like, okay, when we go back, the artist may be passing on the savings to us in that regard. But anyway, well, thank you for coming again, and we love you, and we hope to see you soon in person.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.